The busy holiday period is here, and it all starts with Chelsea taking on Brighton and Hove Albion in a home tie at Stamford Bridge. But who will play, and how did Chelsea win? Let's get to it. Lads, lasses and the rest of the masses, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mono from Mono CFC, and welcome to the lead-in. Like always, I'm going to be predicting the lineups that I feel will play, and show how I believe our team could set up tactically. So, without further ado, let's firstly look at our opponents for this match. Brighton are currently sitting in 8th place in the Premier League table. 6 wins, 3 losses and 4 draws see them 2 places above Chelsea heading into the match. If we look at the head-to-head, Chelsea had been struggling in recent times to get a result against the Seagulls, until the two teams recently met in the EFL Cup, a match that the Blues ultimately won. Brighton will be looking to rectify this loss and put in a much better performance this time out. So, how will they plan on trying to achieve that? Let's look at the team. Brighton, managed by Roberto Di Zerbi, as I have mentioned in previous previews, like to play a 4-2-3-1. I'm going to be selecting their lineup, but it's worth noting that, like Newcastle before them, they have a lot of injuries, so the starting 11 will be mostly guesswork. First up in goal though will remain Bart Verbruggen. He quite literally saved Brighton in their recent Europa League game with a stellar performance, along with some wastefulness from their opponents, helping the Seagulls win 1-0. For the back four, this will be a rather makeshift defence because of how many injuries that have hit the squad. Over on the right, I'm going to be putting in fellow Dutchman Joel Veltman. The centre-back duo is a new one, with the 18-year-old Jack Hinchelwood on the right and new signing Igor on the left. These two are replacing the suspended captain Lewis Dunk and injured Adam Webster. Finally, over on the left, I'm going to be putting in the ultimate utility man, James Milner, who comes in to replace the injured Pervis Estupiñán. Moving into the midfield, we'll start with the ex-Chelsea lad Billy Gilmour. Next to him will not be Mahmoud Dahoud, as he is serving a 3-match ban, and this means Pascal Gross will step in to play in this deeper role. The more advanced midfielder has a few options, but I think the safest bet is on João Pedro to play here. The final attacking three is more normal, with Simon Adingra on the right hand side, Japanese international Kaoru Mitoma on the left, and the brilliant young Irishman Evan Ferguson down the middle, leading the line. Now, I'm not going to talk about Brighton's tactics here as usual because I've done it twice already this year, but if you do want some analysis on them, I recommend watching this video from when we faced them in pre-season, where I went a little bit more in depth. Link will be in the top right hand corner or in the description for those of you on mobile. I will however mention a few things of note. Firstly, the injuries, especially to their defenders, have been a massive thorn in Brighton's side as of late. They have conceded in each of their Premier League games this season, and their latest run of 6 games without a win, before they scraped past Nottingham Forest last week, has been pretty rough for them. Like I said in the Newcastle preview, the added weight of Europa League games seems to have been taking a toll on the squad, and despite gaining some wins in recent times, their performances have massively dropped ever since they were beaten by us in the Cup. Roberto Di Zerbi has gone back on his words from earlier in the season, now stating that his side are struggling without talents the likes of Alexis McAllister and, more importantly, Chelsea's Moises Caicedo. That being said, Brighton's goal-scoring form has not been affected that much, with them scoring in each of their last 11 matches. The only team to stop them from scoring in recent times was, you guessed it, Chelsea back in that EFL Cup tie that ended 1-0. I can't add much more that hasn't already been said in previous videos, but Chelsea absolutely have the advantage in this game and need to make it count. But, as usual, I'd like to focus more on our own team from now on, so speaking of the Blues, let's talk about Chelsea. But real quick, if you're enjoying the content and want to see more, please consider subscribing to the channel. Cheers! Let's start with the formation. Same as usual, 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. I'm going to actually show 2 lineups here because with suspension/injuries that we have, the team can set up in different ways, but the first lineup I will go through will be the one that I personally believe we will see. So, first up in goal, I'm going to be putting in Robert Sanchez. He didn't have the greatest game against Newcastle, picking the ball out of his net 4 times, but he's our number 1 and will definitely start. Now, the back 4 will be incredibly wacky, with all of Chilwell, Cucurella, James and Gusto out with injuries or suspension. Our only fullback available is Ian Martson, who Poch doesn't even see as a fullback at all, and thus won't be featuring here in my opinion. So let's start with the right fullback. I'm going to be regrettably putting in Axel Disasi. Last time we had no right backs, the Frenchman played here, so I assume he will again. The centre-back partnership will be exactly the same as the Newcastle game, unfortunately, with Thiago Silva retaining his place alongside Benoit Badiashile. Over at left-back, we'll see the return of one Levi Colwill, who I am personally glad to see back in the lineup. Moving into midfield, this will be much more normal, with Enzo Fernandez and the returning Moises Caicedo, who we missed massively against Newcastle, playing in the deeper roles, and Conor Gallagher captaining the side ahead of them. The three up top will be unchanged for me. Cole Palmer had a quiet game against the Magpies, but will no doubt be returning to his usual influential self in this one. Raheem Sterling will continue over on the left hand side, and will no doubt be on free kick duty once again after his peach of a strike last time out. The striker role will once again be filled with Nicholas Jackson, who didn't have the greatest game last time, but then again, nor did anyone else really. It's also worth noting that Nkunku trained with the team, and Poch mentioned that he and Lavia were close to a full return. I reckon that Nkunku may be on the bench for this one, and hopefully can get a few minutes on the grass. So this is the lineup I believe will play, but there is another option if Poch wants to change things up. The return of Caicedo means that he could be deployed at right back, where he has previously played for Brighton, with Connor dropping into the pivot instead. This would move Cole Palmer into the centre, Sterling over on the right, and bring Mudryk into the lineup over on the left. Personally, I just don't see Poch doing this, but this would be great to see if he does. Now, I'm going to break down how I think we should play in order to get a result against Brighton, but before I do so, it's time for the question of the day. As always, I'm going to highlight some of the comments from the last video, so here are a few responses to the last question of the day. Thanks guys for your continued support as ever. If you want your comment to be featured in the next video, leave your answer to this video's question of the day down below with QOTD at the start as always. So for this week's question of the day, we'll go for a simple one. Tell me your preferred lineup for this game. Alright, so how will we play? Well, hopefully better than against Newcastle, that's for sure. With Brighton's makeshift defence and midfield, we should be able to navigate it to create chances, so as usual I'm going to point out what I believe are our keys to success here. Firstly, the midfield battle. The key to beating this Brighton team is to prevent them from playing through the lines, something they are fantastic at doing. Joao Pedro will likely play more as a second striker or drift into wider areas, which leaves the two holding midfielders in a 2v3 scenario, so whoever is playing centrally at the time, this could be Connor or Palmer as they interchange into this position constantly, must make themselves a spare man and get into space in order to exploit this weakness. Secondly, our fullbacks. One or both of our makeshift fullbacks are going to have to come out of their comfort zone in this game, and find opportunities to push higher up the pitch and make over/underlapping runs down the flanks. I think that Colwill is the most likely to do this, which will see our team move into this familiar 3 at the back in possession that we've been seeing in recent games. Brighton are a team that love to play out from the back, so usually I'd suggest our team to exercise caution when implementing our high press. However, because of the lackluster nature of this Brighton backline, I think that a hyper-aggressive press will actually bring us success. Putting the rotational players into uncomfortable situations that lead to mistakes could be an avenue for success for the Blues. We saw from their recent game against AEK in the Europa League that this kind of pressure led to Brighton giving the ball away a few times. Speaking of that game, we can learn a few things from it. Despite Brighton winning, they struggled for the majority of this one, with a penalty being the only way they could score, and a red card basically preventing the Greek side from getting back into the game. What AEK did well was exploit the space in behind that Brighton left with long direct passes, and this is something we've seen Chelsea utilise a lot under Pochettino. Brighton and De Zerbi are stubborn in their ways, and despite the weakened team, will likely try to play as they usually do, high up the pitch and progressive, instead of pragmatic. This could be a severe mistake, as we have seen what happens to teams that play this way against Chelsea. They concede a lot of chances. Now, AEK were rather wasteful in front of goal, as I mentioned earlier, and that led to them not being able to score, which has also been an issue for Chelsea. Despite this, I think we'll likely be better at converting the chances than they were, and Brighton could be looking at another rude awakening when they come back to the bridge. This game will likely be a back and forth occasion. I reckon we'll see a lot of goals due to both teams having strong front lines but weakened back lines, and it will be a matter of who takes the chances when they come. A win here wouldn't put Chelsea up any places, but would be vital in kickstarting our season and closing the gap to the teams above us. This fixture list upcoming should be easier on paper, but as the saying goes, games aren't played on paper. For a score prediction, I'm going to, as ever, predict a Chelsea win, and I'll say that Chelsea will beat Brighton by 3-2. I'm going to say that our goals will come from Sterling continuing his scoring form, Enzo will finally get his goal I reckon, and finally Mudryk will pop up with a goal from the bench. As for Brighton, I think we will be undone by 1 goal in each half, both coming by way of Evan Ferguson. But that was just my lead-in match preview for Chelsea versus Brighton. Thank you ever so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on these possible lineups in the comment section below, and if you'd be so kind, subscribe to the channel and leave the video a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss a video from me, or check out some of the other videos on the channel on screen right now. I've been Mono from Mono CFC, and remember, in the rain or in the dry, keep that blue flag flying high. Come on, you blues.